I'm here today with my friend Manu, my new friend, who I was connected with by a colleague, a mutual colleague of ours, from a BNI meeting that I attended when I was in Toronto in July. And I didn't know this lovely gentleman who is totally in my space and is somebody that everybody that's following us needs to know. So, Manu, maybe you could share some information about why that is and why we are so connected.
I guess we're connected because we're good people, but aside from that, we're
There's not a lot left in this world.
after yesterday's
After yesterday, what a mess. My God.
one less. God bless us all. So, I'm a Canadian US CPA. I do a bit of cross-border work. We're a small boutique firm, full service, but I focus on tax and estate planning.
Cool. And tell us about what that looks like for you, a tax and estate planning. Obviously, I know what tax is, I know what estate planning is, but who is your ideal client? And oh, one moment, this decided to make some noise, so forget that. So please tell us what that means exactly.
Well, I guess taxes go into different venues and channels, but I focus primarily on corporate tax with a little bit of individual. Then on the estate
Or the
planning,
corporate clients, right?
corporate clients.
Mhm. So you
And
don't do individuals without the corporation.
no, I do. And the reason for that is very simple, is because if I don't help them, who will? Most accountants don't want individuals.
Mhm.
So
Why is that? Because they're a headache,
the margins are, you're practically losing money on individual taxes.
right?
We don't make any money, believe it or not. We lose money.
Uh-huh.
But I guess it's my gift to society. A lot of people have helped me selflessly.
Right.
So it's just my way of giving back to someone. And then after the estate planning, I focus more on the Canadian side. I do have someone who helps me on the US side because it's just too much information to retain, just too many laws and rules. So I focus, on the US compliance and US individual tax, I guess, for cross-border stuff.
Got it. Got it. And what would you say is your breakdown of clients in terms of um, those that are simply investing and those that are potentially moving and so on?
Uh, I actually have two clients who have left me recently. One went down to Costa Rica, I believe, and the other one
Very
went.
popular destination for Canadians.
Yeah, Costa Rica's getting very hot. Same with Ecuador. And
Literally,
the
literally,
other, yeah.
literally, not just hot, like, oh, cool, but
Yeah,
hot.
yeah, both. Yeah, yeah, no pun intended.
Right, right.
And then India as well. A lot of South Asians in Canada, and they realized the Canadian dream isn't that much of a dream. So,
Gosh, isn't that sad? It's so sad when people have made that move and then realize that it's not the right choice for them. And it does happen even with Canadians coming to the US. Sometimes life is not as easy as it seems. And, I think that the grass is always greener, right? Um, the grass is always greener. And
yeah,
I think that that makes it all the more important that you have professionals by your side that really understand both sides of whatever the border is,
yeah,
because at the end of the day, there's a lot of nuances, there's a lot to unpack, there's a lot to deal with. And you're moving your family. And yesterday I was on a podcast and somebody was asking me, what is your biggest challenge when you're helping people invest moving south from Canada? I said, my biggest challenge is that I have to think about their family
yeah,
because they're moving with their family. They're not just moving for personal reasons generally. And there's a family involved and kids. I have a 14-year-old and he's just started high school and he went from private to public and that's a big adjustment. So
huge.
you, so you have to think about the kids because they're moving countries. This is not just moving down the street.
Right,
It's
right.
a big change.
It's life altering, 100%.
It is. This is and I have a friend slash client and she's been looking at doing this for over a year and I said to her today, what's the deal? Like you've got to move because the rules just start like this past weekend some major changes happened and she goes, there's just so much. Like they have their families, their parents, aging parents, kids that maybe are grown kids, they don't want to leave. So, and the same thing happens when they're moving from India. There's big families over there.
Yeah, huge.
They can't bring them all,
No, 6 generations all together.
right?
Yeah, yeah.
So,
It's funny, as you're speaking, you mentioned school and you triggered something in my head. I don't know if it's the right place or not, but whatever. I'm very open in my discussions. If you see my YouTube videos, I do have a quasi client. They're not a client, but I do know them. I did some work for them, and they're looking to move to the US. I believe North or South Carolina. I can't remember, but I will be getting them in touch with you. So do look forward for an email.
okay, well there you go. And what prompted you to think about that with respect to schools?
Because they have a daughter who's currently in school and they're waiting for her to graduate, which I believe is this year.
Okay.
And it's her last year, then they're going to leave. So they don't want to leave halfway through university.
Got it. Okay.
So,
I was like, okay, where's the correlation? But anyway, thank you. It's interesting because, kids is a very big factor in making moves. When you have kids that are young, when you have kids that are in high school, because then it's a very hard time to move them. I've been wanting to move to Israel. We've spent a lot of time there. My son's when he was 4 or 5, his best friend at the time and all their family moved for a year and they're still there. So they've been there for 10 years and they're never coming back. So what I'm saying is they loved it and they stayed. And my son has always been resistant about it. And otherwise I would be there. Um, but
despite, despite the geopolitical situation, you feel comfortable going?
yes, absolutely. Israel is the safest place in the world to live.
Interesting.
So yes. But the point is that it's hard on kids.
It
And
is. Oh, yeah.
kids have needs friends, they need support, and when they're little it's not as big a deal, but once they start having their friends,
Their routine, right? It's all they know.
yeah,
So it's tough.
yeah. And so you have to think about these things, and again, this is why working with people like Manu that do understand the concepts and the considerations that are involved in doing so. What is your like when clients come to you, what is their number one concern, would you say?
In regards to
Just
relocation?
in general, like in terms of like making sure that they're not facing double taxation, and have they got the proper structure set up and all those kind of things. Like what would you say
Yeah.
is the number one concern of that causes people to come to you?
Yeah, so for those two clients who recently relocated, for them it was the departure tax.
Departure tax, sure,
Yeah,
sure,
they
of
did
course.
the whole Google search and they freaked out.
Yeah.
So
Google can get you in a lot of trouble. If you have a rash on your finger, you're going to have to amputate your arm. Okay?
exactly, yeah, yeah.
So,
University of Google is not a good thing.
not a
So
good thing.
and that freaked them out, but there's always ways around it. But the secret is, and people don't realize it, is if your flight is scheduled for Sunday morning, don't call me Friday night. It's too late,
Mhm.
right? You have to start the planning, I would say at least 3 years in advance. And the reason why I say that, because if you're selling your business in Canada and going to the US, there's a thing called LCGE, Lifetime Capital Gain Exemption, right? That's roughly $300,000 in tax savings, up to. And that's
Tax
significant
savings. This is not in
tax
terms of the
savings.
business itself or the valuation, but tax savings.
Pure tax savings, right? $1.25 million dollars. So half of it is tax exempt through your CDA, and the other 600 some odd gets taxed, which is roughly 300, right? So it's a significant amount of money, but the prep work starts 2 years in advance. So if you come to me on a Friday night that, hey, I'm leaving Sunday, and you want that LCG, you're not going to get it.
It's funny because I was just in a networking event, and one of my colleagues, who's a Canadian lawyer, was talking about commercial transactions and we were about selling your business. And he said that you should start planning to sell your business between 2 and 5 years in advance, because people, and on top of that, it's kind of like selling your house. When you sell your house, you don't just put your house on the market and say, here you go, come see my house. You prep it, you stage it, you get it ready, right? And that takes time.
Yeah.
It's the same when it comes to selling your business,
Yeah.
because there's a lot of when you run your own little shop, you don't necessarily care if all your I's are dotted or and T's are crossed, as long as you file your tax returns and do things right and you don't get into any audits or anything like that. But when you're selling your business, the level of diligence that's going to be involved in analyzing everything, because they want to make sure you dotted your I's and crossed your T's, because otherwise they're not going to buy the business. And certainly if they do, it's going to be a fire sale, just
Right.
like when you don't stage your house. And you have to think of it that way, because if you don't start prepping for your exit, for your to save this 300,000 in capital gains, to sell your business, to even not just sell your business, but maybe merge into another business, or you have to prep that. It is an asset, and people don't pay enough attention to that.
And it's on both sides of the fences, even in the US. I mean, if you're moving from US to Canada, it's the exact same thing, right? Like, for
Yeah,
example, a very quick example, in the US, if the gain on your house is more than $250,000, you all of a sudden you got to pay taxes, right? So you got to time these things, like when's the right time to sell. So it takes a bit of strategy, a bit of planning, but again, you can't do it in 48 hours notice.
right. Or even 48 days.
Yeah, even 40,
More
yeah.
like 48 months. And if you got 48 months, you're going to be good.
And you're good. Yeah, exactly.
You
Exactly.
know, because then you have time to plan. And this is, I think, also true. Would you agree when it comes to attrition, like your family members and so on? Because you when your family members are taking over, you can't just say, "Here you go, have a nice day. Here's the business." Even if they work in the business, they may not know all the inner workings of the business. So you have to start prepping the business and the family member and
Right.
grooming them to take over the business,
There's
right?
transitioning, yes, correct.
Right. So anytime that there's a transition, it's important to pay attention to what that means and how to prep for it. And I think that's probably one of the biggest challenges I see in terms of people coming to me and saying, okay, I'm ready to move. How do I do it?
And if you have entrepreneurs listening at this very moment, a lot of you entrepreneurs don't realize this, but the client isn't necessarily buying your product or your service. They're dealing with you because of you. They feel
Hmm.
comfortable with you, right?
And it's a
So if
problem
you
for
don't make
sure.
that introduction and kind of hold their hand and let them realize this new person coming in is just as cool as I am, those clients will leave.
Absolutely. There definitely needs to be a time of adjustment. And the best thing you can do for your business is to start this planning early so that the person that's leaving, the owner that's leaving that has all of these good faith relationships, he can promise you the sun, the moon, the stars. But if he doesn't stay there to make those introductions and hold the hand through the introductions, like I work with a lot of strategic partners, and oftentimes they stay involved in the initial strategic relationship when they're sending the clients to us to ensure for at least 3 to 6 months to ensure that there's attrition, that there's integration, that there's engagement, and that there's connection.
Yep.
Because ultimately, you can't guarantee that there's going to be a fit, even if they're the best on paper, and it's up to you as the matchmaker, and I love being a matchmaker. It's up to you to manage that relationship, and that's
Yep.
very, very important.
Yeah,
So,
I've got a question for you, Lauren. It says international lawyer and realtor on your ribbon. What about investment strategist? What does that mean? Explain that to me.
sure. So, thank you for asking. So when clients come to most lawyers, most immigration lawyers, they have a business, and the immigration lawyer doesn't help with anything to do with figuring out the business or the strategy or how to develop it or what business to buy or what business to, like, how to expand your business, how to develop the business plan, and how to develop the business strategy. So the investment strategist is all of those things, helping them with the real estate investing, helping them with that business purchase, the whole kit and caboodle from soup to nuts. So that's where that title comes from.
Got it. So I'd come to you and say, "Hey, I have $4 million. What's the best,
Please come to me with the 4 million. I can help you spend it. Yes.
right? And what's the best way to go about this?"
Right. I mean, and the problem is, Manu, as you see, people want a one size fits all answer. And giving a one size fits all answer is incompetent,
Yeah.
because like you might be great. You could buy probably or actually for you, you could probably just expand your accounting firm, right? That would be a great path for you because you're already in the space. Now you have a presence in the US, you build your business. But for somebody that, let's say, worked for the government for the past 20 years, or has a business that doesn't easily qualify to move, or has real estate assets which generally are not positive for a visa. We help them to create a strategy around their business model that does work. So that's the cookie cutter approach does not work and never will.
Yeah, yeah. I know I'm the guest, but I've got a bunch of questions for you though, if you don't mind.
Well, actually, I wouldn't normally mind, but I have to pick up my son in 5 minutes. So let's see
Okay,
if we can get through a couple of them, and I'm happy to try to answer.
sure. A little plug for you, I guess. Now with the borders kind of tightening up in both countries, Canada and the US, for different reasons, but similar reasons. How difficult would it be for like a qualified person for like yourself or myself to hop over
Do you mean for a job?
for a job, a business?
Okay, so definitely the rules are tightening. They have been tightening, and they're going to be tightening, I think, significantly more before the end of the year. So if you are interested in a visa, now is the time to do it. If you're looking for a job or a sponsorship, I say no dice. I say don't even bother right
Okay.
now because there's just way too much risk and way too much risk on the part of the employer and the prospective employee. And why are they going to expose themselves to somebody that's potentially going to have a problem when they can hire somebody locally? So it really depends on what your goal is in the U.S. in terms of figuring that out and the strategy to get you there.
What about business? Is that easier?
Yeah, always easier. Business is always easier, but again, if you are serious, I one thing that there's a misnomer, you don't have to spend $1 million. Second, you don't have to move. So if you're interested in considering the possibility of moving to the US, it's better to do it sooner than later because if you don't do it sooner, you're not going to be able to do it later. And that's the reality.
So what if there's a client who's nearing retirement, they want to go down south somewhere, Arizona, Florida, whatever,
So the only way for a prospective retiree to do this, if they don't want to work, is to do a green card through investment.
buying properties.
No, a green card through investment, which is an EB-5, which is when you invest in a business, an existing approved, so to speak, business, and you invest 800,000 generally in this business, and you get a share and you invest passively.
Would two or three condos for rental count as the 800,000? No,
Absolutely not.
has to be a
It could
business.
be 1,000 condos. It's irrelevant because that's not you have to create 10 jobs. And so the only workaround is to invest in one of these projects that's approved to receive that
Brick
money.
and mortar model. Got it. Okay, interesting.
Yeah, otherwise, believe me, I'd be selling condos every day of the week.
Right, right. Okay. Because those clients are easier to find, right? Who want to buy the
Yeah,
properties. Yeah.
I think so now. But this is I just had two clients like this today. One was 65 and one was 85, and both one of them thinks he wants to work. I'm like, they're not gonna approve you. Like it's just not gonna happen. So let's get you into a green card to investment. So that's the
Got it.
best way to go.
Interesting.
So
Fascinating.
Manu, I appreciate your time. I must go and pick up my son so we can have baseball rained out yet again because I can see it. The thunder is starting, of course, because it's about to be baseball practice. It's
Of
like a
course.
daily thing.
Of course.
So it's a pleasure, and we
Lovely
will
meeting you again.
be in touch. And I'm excited about it, and I look forward to your referral.
For sure. We'll talk soon.
All right, thank you, sir. Bye bye.
Bye.